Hey guys, it's Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk, and today we're going to talk about Sweet Thing by Renee Carlino. I met Renee at Book Bash and she is such a sweet and gorgeous lady. This book is just the most perfect book for the musically oriented mind, let me tell you. I am in love with this book, and it makes me so deeply sad that there is not more hype for this book, because there should be. And you may recognize it with the cover right here. I was sitting in Bush Intercontinental Airport and then I was thinking, I want to write a book one day in an airport because there's so many different stories. Airports are the great human distribution factories, and people watching here can provide a writer with infinite possibilities. Every second there is a new brief snapshot of humanity. It's an endless stream of fodder. I'm going to try to contain my gushing and give you guys a summary before I jump into the spoiler section. Mia's father has recently passed and she's going to New York to keep up his cafe that was just his passion. And so on the plane to New York, Mia meets Will, this charming and spontaneous musician. This is Mia's story about finding faith and discovering who she is in herself, whether she is this person who has created these stable foundational rules for her life, or whether she's more this wild-hearted musician like her father was. So Mia rents out her extra room to Will, and they just get to have this beautiful friendship. She wants to have him in her life for so long, and she believes that the only way to do that is to maintain the relationship as strictly platonic. But there is still that obvious attraction there. But that's not all that this story is. While this book is definitely sweet, there's so much wisdom and depth behind this story, and there are so many great pieces of advice in here. I cannot tell you how much I recommend this book to literally anybody. So do me a favor and share this with your friends and put it on social media sites. So that is what I'm leaving you guys with today, and I'm going to talk about the spoilers. I will see you guys later next time on Bookworms Talk when you have read this. I cannot form words to describe to you guys how much I loved the reoccurrence of this phrase. He looked like he was listening to God. Or when he would say, I'm just praying. And it was always when he was around Mia and when he was thinking about her or speaking with her or watching her. And I've never heard it before. And honestly, I think that might have been what set this book just over the edge of beautiful to me. I love how Will calls her Sweet Thing throughout this. I've known the Van Morrison song. I mean, you have to know Van Morrison to be in my family. It's like a thing. And so I've known the song for ages, but I've never actually heard the endearment used in a book or in life or anything like that, and I just ate it up. At first I thought I was just this smart cookie for catching this earlier, but then it's so obviously put in the story that I'm like, oh, I'm not that smart. It was actually pretty obvious. Mia sees a lot of her father in Will, and I think that's what scares her. I think she almost wants so badly to want that kind of stability that she thinks like someone like her father or like Will couldn't offer. But then when she found out about her parents actually being married, that just struck me, because I at first was like, why would you keep that a secret from your child? But then when her mother explained it, it makes so much sense. And it's so crazy because Mia was having a conversation with Will about how she doesn't really believe in faith. Your sister should have seen the signs, or maybe she did and that's why she waited 10 years to have a kid. It's not a crap shot. The writing's on the wall long before you take that so-called leap of faith. And so when her mother said that she didn't want Mia to feel like she was the reason that their marriage didn't work out, having Mia said that earlier, it made those puzzle pieces fit together so seamlessly. Mia was pretty damn mean to Will like 80% of the time, and that's being generous. But I still didn't hate her. I actually liked her. That is really odd that I didn't hate her. Oh my god. Will leaving those notes on the coffee filter and actually writing wink. He was precious and so sweet and adorable, and still, you know, irresistible at times, like he would rather be thought of. Let's have an insult lesson with Mia, shall we? Ape shit, crap hat, bat shit, but above all, my numero uno all-time favorite swear word is ass clown, without a doubt. I love it more than puppies and baby seals. Yeah, I think a good insult actually does top that. There was slam poetry in this. Renee, you just got me. You had everything I could ever ask for in a book, and then you added a couple slams in there and some beautiful poetry, and I don't even care that one of the slams was about waffles. I love it anyway. Yeah, I know he's not exactly Faulkner, okay, but he does write poetry, and that's some romantic shit. Jenny, you got that right. Have I mentioned how hilarious it was, that first scene on the plane, and Will has his gift store bought rosary, and he's just like, Jesus Christ, did he sound drunk? I just thought it was the funniest shit. Let's get into Robert for a minute, shall we? When she's not sure if he's asking or telling her that they're gonna go out on a date, I'm like, that should be a sign, my friend. And then the lovely piece of shit follows it up with this. Is he like the starving artist or what? That's the last straw. The last straw. And then the asshole, and I partially do think this is Mia's fault, but he should have been gentleman enough to suck up his pride and say, I'm gonna take you in the cab to your place and I'm not gonna drop you off in the freaking middle of town. And so then the next day after that, Will has a 50-year-old stripper over. 50 years old, okay? He's 29. That is wrong. I'm sorry. I had this really in-depth conversation with my friends the other day about the acceptable age difference. And I'm not about to push judgment on anybody, but she's 50! 29, 50, no. I draw the line there. So Will said to her after their session, "You're so good and you don't even know it." My eyes welled up. My father used to tell me the same thing. If that is not a freaking sign, I don't know what is. So Mia comes home and Will is on the couch with two twin floozies, and you know what she does? This is something I would totally do. They try to introduce themselves and she's just like, "No habla inglés," and then she goes to her room and before she shuts the door she says, "Come on, Jackson," in perfect English. So Will and Mia are really comfortable with each other, and so they'll literally walk in while the other one is showering. And she walks in on Will having sex in the shower with this girl, Audrey. And he introduces them, and my heart was just in my throat. And he's been dating her for about 2 weeks. And if she just told him about not being with Robert, oh my god. But then that's a whole bad scenario on its own. It's like a no-win fucking situation. I love Jenny because she really tells it to her straight because she needs to hear this. She says, "He has not dated a single soul since he met you. He was holding out on some pathetic hope that you would break up with Robert to be with him. He had it bad for you, Mia. He wrote a goddamn song for you, but you decided to parade around with Banker Bob in your skin bees and rub it in his face." I'm not gonna verbatim read his song that he wrote for Mia, but it is just so beautiful, and I will link my Tumblr that has all these beautiful quotes in the description. So after Mia and Will did their song together at the club, she realizes that years down the line, when he does make it, and she cries that night because I knew that if I gave myself to Will, I would be left in pieces, left behind. The only way I could hang on was to be his friend, even though every part of me wanted more. So after Will's little going away party that he has before he leaves for California, Mia decides to cut his hair and things get a little out of hand. And then Mia stops their very intimate exchange and runs to her room and cries. And she falls asleep on the floor. And he leaves the next morning without saying goodbye. And if I had to fault him for one thing, it's his tendency for leaving without saying goodbye. And they didn't talk for days. And then Mia talks to Ginny about Will. And Ginny says, "He's in love with you." And I believe his exact words were cosmic, soul-shattering, air in your lungs kind of love. When Jackson died, if a dog dies in a book, I read The Red Fern Grows in 6th grade. I know how I am with dogs dying in books. There were lots of that. Tyler and Jenny call Will, and he gets the first flight back there to be with Mia. And in comforting her, I think she finally just lets everything go, and they have sex, and they're just together, and she says that she loves him. This part was fucking hilarious. When they were in California and there was this like record exec guy, and Mia described him as he was good looking in a clean way, but he was fat. He looks like he'd eaten Ryan Seacrest for breakfast. I love that Will does not want to give up who he is as a musician, and he sings Satisfied Man to them. And I am just like, that is the most professional way to basically say, shove it where the sun don't shine, I'm not changing. So they had sex, and then Will, sweet, precious Will, was like, "Are you going to give me lots of babies?" And then he's just like, "I want to marry you first." And then they have the argument from hell when Will said that he didn't take the record deal. And she's just like, "Okay, so you didn't take this deal, so what are you going to be doing, working for pennies at Montage?" And she runs to the bathroom and she locks herself in there for the entire night. And she wakes up the next morning to find a note that says, "A car will pick you up at 10 and take you to the airport. P.S. You've ruined me." When she gets home, she finds a $5,000 check with a note that says, "For whatever." And they don't speak for months. And she heard that he had gone to a bar and he was drunk and he said something to the effect of, "Save your souls and stay away from love or you'll be a madman like me." So you guys remember from the prologue, the woman that she met in the airport, Lauren, she happens to run into her again a year later, and she talks with her and she explains what's going on with Will because she just finds this connection with her. And she said, "Committing yourself to someone requires a leap of faith. That's why it's so hard for some. There's no crystal ball, but if you love someone enough to share your similar dream, then your faith in that person becomes faith in yourself, and that's the best part of sharing yourself. You're better for it." And so Jenny takes Mia out to this sushi place. She runs across this bar that Will is playing in. And she's like, "Why won't he talk to me?" And Jenny says, telling it straight. Well, Mia, the guy told you he wanted you to be his wife and the mother of his children, and you basically told him he was a loser. I believe his exact words were, she ripped my soul out, poured gasoline on it, and watched it burn. And so they go dancing like they had planned, and Mia just drinks and drinks and drinks. And then Ginny leaves and calls Tyler, and I guess maybe Tyler calls Will, or maybe she called Will. Anyway, long story short, Will shows up, and he kind of pushes this guy off of Mia that's just been grinding on her, that she's really not into, and she gets sick, and he tries to comfort her, and he calls her baby, and she screams at him not to call her that, and then he walks her home, and he falls asleep with her on the bathroom floor, holding her hair back while she throws up. And let me just say, guys, you know that gold star board that I have of the points? He just needs, there's no board big enough for this guy, seriously. The board is gone. And then Mia's watching Chasing Amy, and I don't know what it was. I had watched this movie literally the other week. I think a couple chapters before this, I was thinking, now she's gone. It's like Chasing Amy, right? It's too late. It was the too late thing that I got, and then this was in there, and I'm like, am I seeing things? But it's not, and it's really, really relevant. And Mia decides to take her father's ashes and go to Memphis, and she would sprinkle them in places that she knew he would love. And this part got me. When she took his ashes to the Memphis Zoo, and she put some in the butterfly exhibit from the very beginning when they said, to the butterflies, and she said, to the butterflies, and not... That part got me, not gonna lie. I can't even say it without crying. And then she goes back to New York, and she sprinkles some at Turtle Pond, where she always went with him as a child. Mia Slam, share your coffee. Share your words. Share your music. Share your love, your passion, your fears, your hopes and your dreams. Share your precious heart. Share your wild mind. Share your special soul with me, and I promise to give you all of mine. And then when she's closing up, Will comes. I was beginning to think that this book would end sadly. There's only 9% left, and I just thought they're not gonna end up together. And this is a really important conversation that they had when she asked, where have you been? He said, waiting for you. You needed to figure things out on your own. I was just waiting for you to come around. And that slam that she wrote and she gave to Tyler to give to him was just his message that said, okay, she's ready. And so he didn't stay with her that night because he had things to do. And I thought, no, don't go, because there's going to be some freak accident. And he's going to die on the way back, and you're never going to be able to say what you meant, and that you were sorry. And I don't know what it was about this, but I was just thinking, so doomsday, I could not imagine this ending happily. And then Will takes her to the Alchemy Sound Studios. And that's what he's been working on all this time, knowing that and having her before said that now you have nothing. And it wasn't that he thought, yes, I have no way to provide for her. He knew what he was doing, and he was setting this up, and it hurt that he thought for her it was about stability, and that it wasn't them, and that it wasn't their relationship and their love. But the fact that he named the studios after the thing that they have, the mystical alchemy, and it was so precious. And he set it up for her to score a film. And then Will asks, will you play music with me every day? She said yes. And then he dropped down on one knee and he said, for the rest of your life. So she says yes, and I didn't see that coming. I thought the big shocker of it all was that he had this whole thing set up and everything arranged, and I didn't expect a proposal. And then he gets her this yellow lab puppy that he names after June Carter Cash, because Jackson after the song, and her first dog, Johnny Cash. That just. And then she says, Wilbur, I want to have like 1 million of your babies. And then we have the epilogue. Okay, the epilogue. And much to the same of the prologue, it is from Lauren's perspective. And she runs into Mia and Will, and Mia's pregnant. And they say how everything has just managed to work out. And then Will looks at Lauren like he's trying to place where he knows her. And we're still not done. We have bonus tracks. So it was Will in the airport. It was how he met Lauren. And we have this really hilarious part about Will's therapist and the whole flying thing. His name is Dick Payne. I died. And we get to see from Will's perspective when he first met Mia, and the whole plane right there. And then there's this. Maybe it was fate that I sat next to her that day, or serendipity, divine intervention, who knows. However you look at it, I got seated next to the first girl to ever really steal my heart. I was in love from that moment on. Holy crap, I loved this book. Beautifully spoken, eloquently said, wonderful pieces of advice, an amazing story, and I felt like I knew the characters so well, and there's so much more than just a relationship to the story. There's a whole journey about finding yourself, and there are these interesting ways of thinking, and I am just in love with this book. I want more books from Renee Carlino. She is such a sweet lady. She really, really is. So let me know your thoughts down there in the description. It really deserves an entire section, a couple minutes, where I just read you its beautifulness, as if I already haven't enough. So from this point on, I'm going to be reading you some wonderfully put pieces of advice, so stick around for that. You have to teach your heart and your mind to sing together. Then you'll hear the sound of your soul. Wisdom is not the same as information. It's something entirely different. It's often mistaken for good advice, but wisdom cannot be imparted to someone. Wisdom can only be earned. It's a byproduct of experience, not necessarily knowledge. It's a fool who thinks love will set him free. Love equals a morbid and relentless fear of losing the other person. It's a freak accident fear, a piece of space junk falling from the sky and obliterating him, leaving nothing but his smoking boots. It's the unfortunate organ defect fear. Suddenly on his 30th birthday, the little crack in his heart that's been there since birth will rear its ugly head and take him in his sleep while he's spooning you. It's the only way to know you're really in love. When you ask the question, would it be harder to watch him die or no, he'll watch me die? Is there more mercy in being the one who does the watching or in being the one who does the dying? It's when you realize what mercy killing actually means. It's when you actually care to the point of tormenting worry. It's not roses and white horses, it's fucking brutal, and it can send a person running for the hills. To love is brave, and Will is the bravest person I knew. I just want to get wasted with you and find out if there is a God. The leap of faith is giving it a chance and not projecting your own crap on someone else because you're afraid of failing. You are your mother and your father. You are your experiences and your fears and the love you've let yourself feel. You are your degree and your talent and your passion. You are your pain, your joy, and your fantasies. You are me and Chill and Jenny and Will and every person that touches your soul. But most of all, you are you, whoever you dream to be. I will see you guys later next time on Bookworms Talk. Bye!